Thanks, folks, and greetings to the media houses and listeners at home. I'll just take the one point on the SAPC around what would have been our framing of what should be the framing of the national dialogue on the questions of the economy. Look, Samkela, the Youth League has been making propositions as it relates to the economy right from 2011, and we're not going to say it's new ideas that comes with the 26th National Congress. In 2011, the 24th National Executive Committee, together with the Congress itself, took a decision to formulate 7 cardinal pillars which are driving what we call the generational mission of economic freedom. The 26th National Congress reaffirmed that and expanded that. And we've been saying that the battle now for the South African soil is about transforming this economy to work for our people. And we've been very clear making proposition that we must industrialize our critical minerals in order to create industrial capacity or industrial development in South Africa, create economic opportunities and jobs. And that's what we're saying in the National Convention. We're saying we're not going to accept anything that is dragging us to other things that are not talking about transforming this country's economy, including ensuring acceleration of land reform. And that's what we're proposing in the national dialogue. Any national dialogue that does not resolve the land question and the economy is a mere waste of time, because our historic struggle as Africans and the black people in this country is a struggle against the dispossessions of land and the economy. But participation of our black people who constitute the majority of this country are living in squalor conditions in the informal settlements and in rural areas, in underdeveloped rural areas. And that's why we're saying we're not prepared as the Youth League to listen to anything that does not talk to this question about beneficiating our minerals, industrializing, creating economic opportunities and jobs. That's what we are proposing in the national dialogue. Anything that does not have that, we're not prepared to listen to that. But we're also saying this national dialogue must be civil society-led. You know, political formations, church formations, labor, are civil society organizations. They must be the ones that speak on behalf of the communities, because we as political formations, together with churches, together with labor, we are representing, the pain and the heart, the aspirations of the South African people. So it must be us who are leading this national dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, SG. I think let's first agree that national convention was a tea party of friends. The president was misled, invited to a tea party of friends who meet each other over tea and consolidate each other into a delegation. What informs that? Civil organizations that have got constituencies were not there. Political youth organizations that have got constituencies were not there. Political parties, because how do we test that we've got support? We test you through what you supported for. I'm saying if the Youth League is not there, whether it's EFFD, all of these parties, civil organizations that we are knowing them are not there, even the foundations that represent integrity were not there. Now, obviously, it was clear that it was a platform created by opportunists to try to present that for the past 30 years, the ANC has done nothing for South Africans. It was a right-winger platform, anti-democracy, set up, programmed by people who are obsessed about taking the progressive out of power. That's how we've classified that thing. That's why we're saying that it must be corrected. The real national dialogue must be convened with the right people. Now, I fell on that one, SG, I must make that emphasis. On the issue of what the Minister of Mineral have said, we agree with him. We want from soil to factory. We want to industrialize the economy. We're clear on that one. We're not apologetic. We've been consistent about export quotas. We have not moved from it. And with our new economic conditions and sanctions and all of these problems, you know why it's important that we create economic corridors and beneficiate our minerals here to create enough employment for our youth. And we strongly believe as the Youth League that if you create economic corridors and beneficiate in South Africa, the issue of unemployment will be the thing of the past. On the issue of spaza shops, foreigners doing it, we are aware of that. We've spoken against it. It's lawlessness. We can't have foreigners running around with guns, utilizing gangsters, saying that South Africans, the real owners of this land, must not participate in their own economy. Foreigners, if we go to a stage where foreigners do that, you must know we've reached a level of lawlessness. That's why we agree with the commission that has been set in place to investigate the corruption in the police and everyone that must enforce the law. Because who allows those foreigners to do that? And we'll wait for the outcomes of that, and we're sure it will confirm that. Which includes also the gender-based violence. The reason people end up taking the law into their own hands is because they no longer believe in the system, that the police will protect them anymore. And the moment people no longer believe that police will protect them, they'll take the law into their own hands. And we can't afford as a country, as a young democracy, that we have lawlessness in this country. It will cause anarchy into the country. What do we mean when we say we want decisive leadership? We're clear. We want President Ramaphosa to decisively fire all ministers that are not implementing resolutions. We want the ANC to decisively remove all mayors, anybody else who's deployed by the African National Congress on behalf of the people of South Africa. They must be held accountable why there's no service delivery, why there's no implementations of resolutions, why there's chaos in this country. Now we're saying President Ramaphosa must be decisively and fire them. That's what we mean when we say that we want decisive leadership who acts on people that are not implementing. We've agreed in the past that every Tuesday we'll hold them accountable here in our offices. We've started the process of doing that, and we'll be working together closely with the president, also putting him also under pressure. That the president will no longer have the luxury of time. We urgently need to regain the confidence of our people. And the only way to regain the confidence of our people is to implement what we've promised them, which is a better life for all. Now, that one is very urgent, which we mean that must happen urgently. We can't say there's a new minister of Home Affairs. When good things are happening that the ANC government have done, they claim them as theirs. The issue of basic education, we know that the pit toilets and everything were removed by a minister of the ANC. But Mam Enji Mutseho can't stand up and say, no, those things were done by me. When there's a new minister, he takes responsibility of everything, the good and the bad. Now we're saying the Minister of Home Affairs must urgently take responsibility and fight against the corruption that is happening at Home Affairs. It's a known corruption. I wonder what is happening at Jimmy State Home Affairs now that there's bent down. I'm sure the corruption is now at steroids because now there's no longer systems. People are given IDs behind the booths outside parking lots. Now I can imagine if corruption happens in buildings, what will happen in parking lots? It's even worse. I'm sure there are new Nigerians now who are South Africans since the burning of Jimmy State. Now that corruption must be resolved urgently. We can allow that corruption to happen, including the hijacking of buildings. We can accept that towns like Bosberg, Germiston, Johannesburg, foreigners just hijack buildings and nothing happens. Now we're saying that the law must be enforced. In the middle of all of these problems we're faced with, on top of all the problems we're faced with for youth unemployment and the disaster we're faced with, on the center of our main problems is the lack of law enforcement. Now when the law can be enforced, some of the issues can be resolved and we'll be able to answer them. On the issue of the research, whether the health system or the education system of illegal foreigners are heavy on them, it's evident. If you stay in South Africa and you go to a public service, you'll know that foreigners, illegal foreigners are heavy on our health system. And due to our human rights commissions, you can't chase out people when they are sick, it's inhuman. But they are heavy on the system. They are heavy on because we budget for people who have counted in this country. If you have counted 64 million people and you are saying 20 million people are school-going people, you budget for those people and the infrastructure budget is on those bases. Now, if there's someone who enters illegally, that person is heavy on the infrastructure because it's not budgeted for. But we're saying that more must be done. I agree with you. More must be done. We need to invest more on the health system. It's in some areas it's collapsing. We need to build more schools. We've seen a video not long ago going rounds of young people who are still crossing rivers, going to schools. It can happen in 31 years later in South Africa. Those are issues that must be resolved. It can't be that 31 years later in democracy, We still have young people who walk kilometers crossing dams in danger to access education. Now, I was saying those are things that must be resolved on urgent basis. And if not resolved, it will cause problems for all of us South Africans. The issue of a young lady who was in the Fees Must Fall, Nompendulo. There's nothing wrong with a young lady being deployed. We're not saying there's a problem with them. We say one more. We're not anti-youth being deployed. She's a young lady who was excelling also in Parliament. We believe that she can contribute also on this dialogue. She's a young lady who has got a stature of a person who can contribute to that. We're going to convene her to also come and brief us. There's also another young person there who's got a planet named after. It's a young person of the Siyakusa, a young person of the movement. We embrace them. But we're saying that all decision-making bodies in South Africa must reflect the demographics of this country, which is youth in majority. We're saying the task teams that are set in place to plan these things must be root reflective. If you are taking only 0.1% and say it's youth and make them the faces, and what they do, these old people, we put young people there so they are communicators of bad news. What they do, they sit back. You'll see very soon Nompendulo, all the bad things that happen, they're putting Nompendulo as a face of the national dialogue. When things go good, they put all people as a face of the good things. The bad things is Nompendulo, the good things is the old people. Now those things, we're watching them, they want to use the young girl unnecessarily. We're behind there, we're watching her closely, we'll be coaching her close that don't be a communicator of bad news. Be a communicator of good news because the future of the country belongs to the youth. Thanks.
Thank you. I believe all the questions were answered sufficiently. Because I'm not taking new questions, I would be open to one if there was one question that was not taken or responded to. Okay, I think it's fine. NEC member, Comrade Kutlwano Rakosa, is going to come and present on the discussion documents of the second NGC. Comrade Kutlwano.
Good day, President, the officials, and good day to the members of the media in South Africa. I'm tasked with a difficult yet simple responsibility, and that is outlining the clear summary of what we will be dealing with in the next coming weeks. We've tried to summarize some of the work that we will be doing, and we will not be going to the NGC just to go there and clap hands and sing. So we've been tasked with the responsibility to organize that there should be some form of discussion documents that will come out of the NGC, and there should be clear recommendations that will come out. But I just want to make this point clear that the discussion documents that are being launched, SG, is as a result of the 26th National Congress resolutions. We have set as the drafting committee together with the relevant subcommittees that were tasked with implementing some of those decisions that had been taken. And the decisions that were taken were to try and look at them very closely as to what is it that has been progress that has been made and what is it that has been challenges. And if possible, that would have taken decisions that are not measurable. What is it that we can do going forward in order to amplify and ensure that we concretize some of those decisions? So some of the basis in which I would have summarized this discussion document is along those lines. So I will not be giving a broad framework around them. I'll just be giving a summary. So the first one that we'll be dealing with that has been prepared by the organizational renewal, and I want to say it emphasizes on the point and the theme that had been taken previously. And the theme that we are still going with to the NGC has not changed, because as you would have heard the political report or the political input by the president just now, it emphasizes the point on economic freedom and social change now and not later. So everything that we are doing based on the Congress resolutions that we will have taken and the assessments that we are doing at the NGC are practically around the theme that had been taken previously. So we have not veered off from that discussion. We are just amplifying that point. So there are challenges that would have came out of the discussions that would have been taken around the issues of organizational renewal. And part amongst those challenges are the danger of social distance, isolation of the party from the masses, the danger of the state bureaucratization and the demobilization of the masses, the danger of corruption, the danger of institutional factionalism, ill discipline and disunity, fueled and inspired by battles over state control of the state power and resources, and the danger of using state institutions to settle inner party differences, the danger of neglecting the cadre policy, the danger of the lack of capacity and capability to implement policies to rapidly improve the standard of living of the masses. And those two important points, if you can, they would have also came out of the president's view when he spoke here, and that the standard of living of South Africans has not been improving. There are instances where we've made significant progress as the African National Congress, and with the assistance of the ANC Youth League, obviously being a board of opinion in doing checks and balances. But there are still elements where we think that there's still a lot that needs to improve. So we've based these things and we've calculated some of the questions, and some of the discussion documents are going to be based on some of these questions that we need to respond to. And with that, this is what we thought that we should come out of the NGC and the response out of the ANC Youth League. And that the ANC Youth League, in its current form and its current content, is it capable of advancing the realization of economic freedom? That is the theme. Economic freedom now or not later. And if not, what is the problem? What kind of ANC Youth League will be best positioned to advance the realization of economic emancipation in our lifetime, and taking into consideration the 7 cardinal pillars that the SG would have spoken about, because we have not left them behind. We still need to re-emphasize on those points and amplify them. And what kind of leadership and membership is required to effectively build and sustain such a youth league? There's been a growing concern around the membership, the quality of membership, and the quality of leadership of the ANC Youth League. It becomes a growing concern, not only for issues when we go to our own conferences and congresses, but it also becomes a bone of contention when there are certain things are not resolved in the society around where is the ANC Youth League and its important voice. How should the organization be structured, and how should it function to carry out this mission successfully? So we are going to be looking into this issue around how is the organization structured, what is its functionality, and its functions are able to assist us as a movement at grassroots level, from the branch, from the zone, from the region up until national. Because as we all know, some of the decisions that are taken by the National Congress become implemented by branches, regions and provinces. So ours is to ensure that at least we create a sizable opportunity for branches, regions and provinces, and including zones, to be able to implement some of these decisions. And if we are not, we should be able to assess. If we are able to assess some of the decisions that we are making, we should be able to also assess the relevant branches. If in their content and form, are they be able to execute those decisions, as it were? So those are the broad frameworks in the organizational renewal document that we are going to be looking into, and others will follow suit. And I know that there's another one that would have wanted to speak about around the membership and the leadership, but we'll come to it as we go closer to the NGC, probably next week. There is also a discussion around the presentation that we have formulated in assessing the work of the ETC, Economic Transformation Subcommittee, and we've brought in a lot of comrades from different sectors. I just want to make this point. And I know it will come out very clear when we formally launch those documents, and we will share them with you. We did not only look into issues that the president has spoken about, issues of prescribed assets alone, issues of beneficiation, issues of quotas, but we're also concerned about issues that relate to infrastructure and water. And it's things that we think that should be at the agenda of the NGC. When you go to areas such as where I come from in Tsakani, there is a shortage of water. There's a shortage of water in the Eastern Cape. At one point in areas like Western Cape, there was a day zero where people had to access water at different intervals. So we are extremely concerned around the water economy, and we do think that it should be at the center of the discussions as we go to the NGC around the funding models of the water, and how is it that the water is going to live from the Lesotho highlands and be accessible to the communities themselves. And some of these projects have been taking long in order for them to be implemented. And they are causing a serious concern in terms of health, and they are serious concern in terms of the accessibility of water. And we all know that water is not is a right. It's not something that we are going to dilly-dally around. So it's an important discussion that we do think that it should be at the center of the discussion at the NGC. And in implementing the 26th National Congress discussion or resolutions around the issues of the critical minerals, and we all know that maybe if I can just make mention of one or two of them, is the issue of the manganese, iron ore, coal, and chrome. So members of the public, we also received a presentation around some of the countries in which this coal of South Africa lives to. And interestingly, Germany, as we are sitting today, is ramping up and building more capacity in terms of the coal industry, the coal factories. And that is because they had a shortage of electricity for quite some time. It's not only them. We have also received a presentation that USA has more coal industry or coal factories than South Africa, in which the natural resources comes from. China as well. So we're looking into discussions to have with the DMRE and other extensive departments to look into ways in which we can be able to ramp up and build more coal fire stations in order to ensure that electricity is not a thing that we have electricity shortage one point, there's load reduction at another point. So we are escalating that debate and discussion, and we've invited them, SG, members of the different departments and subcommittees, to also contribute in some of these discussions, even from the level of the discussion documents, but we've also encouraged them that they should be able to participate in the NGC itself so that the discussions can be nourished. And as I've mentioned, there's also the debate around municipal disinvestment that is also led by the National Treasury. We are concerned. We are concerned on two fronts. We are concerned that the municipalities are not exercising their duties in terms of building and servicing our people correctly. The water shortages, the waste treatment plants, and many other of those that are not being serviced are causing a cause for concern. But we're also concerned around how the National Treasury responds to that. It cannot be that the National Treasury response can be the disinvestment and withholding of those necessary grants, because once you withhold those necessary grants, what it means that service delivery and service to the people is not going to be an objective that we're going to be dealing with. So we're also concerned about the licenses that was dispersed by the Department of Transport, led by Comrade Barbara Creasy. There are about 11 new entrants of the railway licenses. and the new role players. We honestly we are going to be looking at that very closely, and that will mean that we need to take responsibility in whatever that those licenses are going to come up with. Because if there are issues with regards to job security and security of the country, it's things that we also need to be very closely looking at. There is also an issue that a presentation that we'll have also received, and if you can see, I'm taking a bit long when I'm speaking about issues of economy, because that is what we have also been expected to do, and that is what is our task to discuss, because we are shaping our future as we go here, and that is why even in the convention, the president did say that we really would have wanted the debates to be centered around economy. So we have also received a presentation around the expatriate employees in the multinational companies that are operating in South Africa, and some of them that reach a ceiling at a very young age. And some of these multinational companies equally keep on bringing people on the pretext that it's a skills transfer, but almost the same job has the same individual from South Africa that is not growing, but equally someone from overseas and other skilled countries, as they say, that they usually renew contracts and bring in new people into that space. So our people in the middle class and middle strata are not growing, but there are people that are brought in from other countries on a pretext, on policy, that they are expatriate employees. And we also, President and members of the media, looked into the issue of the international relations and balance of forces. We have concretized this document around issues of national interest, because it's high time that we speak about ourselves as a country and our national interests when certain policies, when we're taking certain policy decisions. And that is because we need to ensure that at the global level, we do away with the aggressiveness of trade nationalism. We also ensure that we pay close attention to armed conflicts that are happening, climate change related disruptions that continue to undermine the multilateralism. And this is because even in the 2025 report of the World Economic Forum on global risks, there are 3 risks that would have came out very sharply. And in the short term, the risk is that there is a growing potential of state armed conflicts. And people who might not be paying special attention to this will think that this is only happening in Africa, TG. We have about 28 armed conflicts in Africa. Followed by that, we have armed conflicts that are also happening in North America, Europe, and South America. And that is a growing cause for concern. And even the World Economic Forum makes an extensive discussion around it. So it's an issue that we also need to place closer look. Another issue that came out of the global risk is the issue around the medium term, is the issue around misinformation and disinformation. Comrades, we all know how misinformation and disinformation has been happening. And it becomes vile around the time of elections. It becomes vile around perpetuating information, SG, that the communities might think that South Africans are xenophobic in their behavior, in their attack, and in their own thinking. So there is a growing concern around misinformation and disinformation, and that we would have seen playing itself out in the president's visit to Washington, D.C., where a video had been played which totally means something different, but it was conflated to mean that South Africa is doing xenophobia and genocide around the farm killings. So another issue that would have also came out in the long term from the World Economic Forum around 2025 global risk is the issue around extreme weather. We are seeing that there are many flooding that are happening around the country, around the world, the environmental degradation, the planting of trees needs to be escalated so that we can assist those areas that are in the soap space that are affected by these flood systems. There's also issues that with regards to climate change, and there are also issues that pertain to the natural resources shortages. And in this, we do think that these are debates that we should be able to scale up. Another point or another discussion document that will be presented at the NGC is that of the education, health, and wellness. We are too concerned, SG President and the TG, around the implementation of the NHI. The GNU has afforded an opportunity for us to also be at the helm with that analysis that it's a strategic setback, but it does not mean that the Department of Health, equally with National Treasury, they must not take decisive responsibility and fund the pilot projects of NHI. So at the center of the debate and discussions that we are going to be looking in and bringing doctors, and the health subcommittee is also led by a doctor in profession, who will also be giving us an analysis around what is it that is hampering on the implementation on the NHI. And we do think that in the discussions that are happening around the defunding of the NHI and the prioritization led by the National Treasury, NHI must be at the center of the prioritization, and the budgets must also be scaled up. We have also ensured that the debate around those that we think that are not from South Africa, they should be also in some sort of a database that is compiled around those that must benefit from the NHI and those that will have entered the country illegally. And from that, we should be able to have a concise discussion around the beneficiation of the NHI for everyone in the country. We do want to escalate the debate around the funding of education, and we do think that both education and health have been at the center to receive a serious backlash by the National Treasury in terms of funding. So we want to have a decent conversation at the NGC around how is it that we can be able to come up clear in ensuring that 25% of the national budget is prioritized for education. The President has spoken about this, but I just want to emphasize it that it's also in the discussion document around the disbursement of the NSFAS funds to students. We do think that Post Bank is capacitated enough now to be able to lead that space. It can't be that Post Bank is able to disperse funds for old people of SASSA and is unable to disperse funds for NSFAS beneficiaries. So we must be able to take responsibility. And interestingly, there is a new minister there. The new minister must be able to take up this discussion together with NSFAS. We do not want anything that is privatized in terms of the disbursement of NSFAS bursaries, but we do want the Post Bank to be at the center of the disbursement of the NSFAS bursary schemes. So another discussion document that has been prepared is centered around communication and the battle of ideas. And the important part that comes out of that, we've centered the message around every message depends on the integrity of the messenger. And the President has spoken about it, we've spoken about it in the discussion documents, in the resolutions, that there is no question around the policies that are taken by the ANC Youth League and the ANC itself. But there is a deeper discussion around if the people really believe the message that is being conveyed by the same organization and its leaders. So the basis in which we will be discussing the communication and the battle of ideas is centered around every message depends on the integrity of the messenger. And embedded in that, we've also used a discussion document of artificial intelligence because we are there as we speak. There's no way that we can run away from that discussion. It's at the center, it's at the forefront. Young people are doing coding, young people are doing mechanization, and we do think that AI can also be able to assist us in terms of health, the health debate as an assisting tool to detect some of the viruses and diseases at the earliest phase. So we have a resource document that speaks specifically around issues of AI. Last but not least is the issue that pertain to gender equality and social inclusion. So if you can see now, we've moved away from debating issues of gender and sex. We have not framed it in that way. We've framed it in such a manner that it must include the most broadest of society, and that is inclusive of the women, young people, and the LGBTQI. And there are proposals that we are coming up with, but we're particularly happy, and South Africa must also applaud us, that the national officials, there are 3 males, 3 females, and even in the rest of the NEC, the composition of the NEC reflects that there is a gender parity in terms of our own constituting. So we are taking up this discussion, but we are not only tokenizing the debate. The rest of the officials that are sitting here, some of them employed, some of them are not employed, but we can say without fear or favor that it must not be seen as if it's a token, but the Deputy President is a Deputy Minister of Mineral Resources and Resource, and which speaks about capacity and capability, but also it speaks about inclusion in certain sectors of the economy. So that is the basis in which we are speaking about. And also, when we speak about gender equality and social inclusion, we're also speaking about the security of women, but we're also speaking about safe spaces in campuses, in the location, in townships, where everyone, women and children and people with disability, can be able to operate and be able to move freely without instances of crime and being targeted by people who have nefarious reasons. So I think those are part of the discussions. If there are other things, we'll be able to bring them up. Thank you very much, President.